Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sen.
15 PCA.
87454.
Be sure to check us out over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. Join the discussion over on Discord, link in the description below. And if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to sub, like, share, and hit that bell for notifications. So Beetlejuice is getting a sequel, and it's called Beetlejuice, instead of just saying Beetlejuice Part 2 or Beetlejuice, the resurrection. I don't know. They can never just call something Part 2 anymore. Very few films actually keep the number sequel thing. It's always called something else. So I'm assuming there's going to be a third one called Beetlejuice. But overall impressions, it looks okay. My biggest issue is Beetlejuice, I grew up and I loved this film. I loved it because it was good because it wasn't popular. It was good because it was weird and strange and used a lot of practical effects and claymation, and it used all kinds of crazy ways to tell this story because, it didn't care about being realistic. It didn't care about being like, oh, this wouldn't really happen. People don't act this way. It was its own crazy little world. And in this, you have Lydia's daughter like going to school and interacting with other people, and there's like some boy she's talking to. It doesn't feel like Beetlejuice. It feels like some other movie. Beetlejuice needs to almost exist in a hyper reality where we can just step away and like, oh, this is not supposed to be real. Like we're not supposed to even have the inkling of, the suspension of, disbelief. That's not supposed to happen with Beetlejuice. And it feels commercial. And it kind of kills it for me. For those who love the original, do you feel like this film is really capturing that original aspect of like that quirky, weird movie with the strange world and the way that people act and think, and I'm going to buy a house and redo it and like make it look kind of like a birdhouse, like how the wife was just like out of her mind crazy and just weird, silly things. But it looks like Lydia gets caught up in like the underworld. Remember they got the book for the recently dead, and maybe she finds her way into the world, and then Lydia's like, I need help. So I'll call on Beetlejuice and he'll help me, because Beetlejuice, here's another thing too. Beetlejuice is not a good guy. And I hope they don't make it to where he's some kind of good guy. He should be doing this because, one, he's bored. Two, he's looking to try to still get with Lydia, because he tried to marry her when she was a teenager. She was like 15. In the story, in the movie, she's like a high school student and he's an ancient spirit. So yeah, that's kind of creepy, super gross. But I guess Lydia and Beetlejuice, and I'm assuming this other male guy is Lydia's husband or fiance or whatever, or the kid's mom or father, the baby daddy. And they're going to go and try to save Lydia. Some of the stuff looks great. Everything that's practical looks good. The little shrunken heads, but some of the 3D stuff, like when his eyes bug out, it looks too fake. It needs to look, it's funny, not say fake, it looks computer generated. It needs to look fake, but it's a real thing. Like use claymation. Like you see the sandworms for a moment and they look like it's still kind of like a puppet, like Coraline, like it has that look to it. It needs to look like that all the time. I don't like the modern effects. It needs to use all old school, and some of the stuff, it's not old school. It just looks like, oh, they just did the quick CG render and didn't take the time to actually use a puppet, to use claymation, to use, composite shots, and the old school way. That's what made the original Beetlejuice so enduring. It made it so just memorable because it was its own quirky thing, and it didn't worry about the shot looking perfect, but it was a real thing. Like when he becomes like the carousel and all that, and the big worm, the snake thing eating the dudes, and the whole daylight coming and I want to go home, that whole scene, the whole dance number, it was just wild and crazy. And it feels like this movie's going to be like, you remember that scene from the first film? Here's our version of it. And I don't know if that's going to resonate, because if they do a dance number and it isn't as memorable as that original one, I don't know. It's gonna fall flat. I don't want this to fall flat, but maybe it needs to. I don't want it to be. I feel like an old curmudgeon like they're back in my day, but it was wonderful the way it was. It was wonderful on its own story. It doesn't need a sequel. But as far as the storyline goes, there's a part in the trailer where, remember in the original film, they have to draw a door, and then you knock 3 times, the door opens, takes you to like the afterlife. He like draws a bomb and like blows the door, like just blows it up. And there's a bunch of like Bobs, like little shrunken head guys. I guess these are like Beetlejuice's dudes, like whenever someone calls on Beetlejuice, and they, I guess like his office workers, right? So he goes, "Oh, you guys stand guard, don't let anyone out." People are getting out, right? I'm assuming that's going to be a plot in the movie where they're doing this, and then since that door was blown open, spirits are going to start pouring out into the real world, and they're going to have to do something to get all the spirits back into the afterlife. I'm thinking that's going to be an actual thing that's going to end up happening. A lot of people are a big fan of what's her face, the daughter. She's okay, but she's in a lot of things, and she's practically just playing Wednesday again. She's just almost playing it exactly the same. And I just didn't like in the beginning, she's like talking, like they're trying to scare her because her mom was the creepy chick. And then she's like, "Oh, when you guys are in your 30s and you're banking your Pilates instructors," and I'm like, I don't know, dude. Is that line funny to anyone? Did anyone go, "Ho, ho, ho, that was so funny"? It's just vulgar and gross. Like, okay. I don't know. I just feel like, and it's an unnecessary sequel. And I just don't think there's enough story here to keep this going, to be like for Beetlejuice to want to help. Because why? Unless Lydia promises or something, there's got to be a lot of stuff here. So again, like I said, unless he's just bored and he's just like, "I'll do it just because it's something to do because I'm stuck in the afterlife." Michael Keaton's doing his best. He's a lot older than when he was. There's been over 40 years. So he's a lot older. But he still, because the voice of Beetlejuice, he kind of has this, he ad-libs a lot. That's what makes Beetlejuice such a fun character. He's just out of his freaking mind. But I don't know. It comes out in September. Why don't scary things or like spooky things come out in October anymore? Like, what's the deal with that? But, is this, I don't go see this? I don't know. If other people go and they invite me and it's like, okay, we'll split the cost of everything. Like, we'll go out to dinner or something. But me taking the time, I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I love the character, but I also don't love the fact that it was good on its own. It'd be like, making another Back to the Future. It just doesn't need to be. And this, taking things from the 80s, things that I grew up with, and just like, oh, let's make more of it. Let's do it again. I don't know. Maybe. Crimson's in here. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting on the video really helps out a lot. It gets the video spread around more people get to see the videos, and we get to make more videos for you guys. So thank you, and we appreciate every single one of you guys.